Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? First of all, oh, it's so green today. Oh, because of the. Hmm. Should I change it? I am turning into a green person right now. But hi, everybody. First of all, can some of you please confirm that you can hear me? Oh, okay, good. You can hear me and you can see me, but I'm just extremely green. Let me check. How the heck do I do it? I do not know how to do it. Eh, okay. I don't even know how to turn on the camera to. All right. I think I'm just gonna stay with green then, because I am in my hometown alone and I don't have my good comrade American Johnson right here to tell me how to do the configuration. Yeah, I'm not using OBS, so nope, no way. Anyway, I like being green. There's nothing wrong with being green, right? Everybody, I'm Luna. I'm a Vietnamese come this morning and living in Vietnam. I'm visiting my family now. Apologies if you hear any some background noise. I'm not sure that the microphone can pick it up or not, but there is some background noise. The guy next to our house, like running a machine to, he makes some, like table and furnitures. He ran that machine to cut that thing, so it might be noisy. I hope that the camera won't pick it up, but I mean, yeah. Let me move this thing a bit. Nice. Okay, that's sweet. All right. Sounds okay. Great. Okay, so it's very noisy out there, but the mic doesn't pick it up. Good. Awesome. All right. So today we're gonna put the pillow on my back. We're gonna talk about a lot of issues in Vietnam that are going on right now. That's pretty concerning. Like Vietnam is facing energy crisis right now. um Seafoam green. Yes, even the wood is also kind of greenish. Vietnam is facing energy crisis and there are a lot of problem and a lot of issues, a lot of reasons why it happened like this. But to warm up, have any question about Vietnam you want me to answer? We're gonna warm up for about 20 more minutes and we will start the main topic at like 10:30 your time is 9:30 my time. Is it because of US sanction? Partially it does. Yeah. So here's the thing too. Um Sometimes you will see the noisy outside because like my mom's friends visit our house, but our house today has electricity. So it is like a hub for my mom's good friends to go here and work, use Wi-Fi and electricity or neighbor. So sometimes you will see the people talking outside. So that is a part of the problem now that we're dealing with. And all right, I'm checking the chat right now. Okay, so Vietnam is extremely hot right now. It's the summer, and so energy is very very important. What is the energy source breakdown for Vietnam by percentage? What percentage hydro etc. I will show you when we got to the main topic. I have a chart for you, but for now, I can answer you is that around 38% of Vietnamese energy is we call it like coal power plant. We burn the coal. About 50% is hydroelectric, 50 to 55%. and the rest of it is what do you call it? Green energy, including solar, wind, yeah, solar and wind, and the solar rooftop kind of energy. And the small part of it is from gas, diesel, and imported electricity is like point 0.7 like 1%, lower than 1%. But yeah, the vast majority, number one is hydroelectric, about half, about 38% is coal power plant, and another about 20 to 25%, depends on the north or south, is green energy. Have I ever seen a service dog in Vietnam? To be honest, I haven't. But I've seen dogs be tourists in Vietnam. Because like when we went to, I made a video about it. When we went to Bulong, my hometown, we went to the mountain, we went to the cave, we walked to the village to go to the cave, and the dog gang in the village assigned one dog, and that dog became our tourist and follow us, led the way. But to be honest, I haven't seen tourist dog very much in Vietnam. Oh yeah, about 80 to 88% is hydraulic coal. Yep, I also talk about nuclear too, nuclear power plant too, later in the topic. But Vietnam did try to have nuclear power plant in 2013, and we did send a few hundred best Vietnamese students to Russia for training. But right after that, at that time, Vietnam asked Japan and Russia for help, and right around that time when we're training, um, the thing happened. The Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan got exploded because of the earthquake. It was like a terrible environmental crisis for Japan, and at the same time, Russia had like some uh, conflict with Ukraine and NATO. So it was why like it was like impossible to continue that plan. At the same time, the USA and its lapdogs kind of forced Vietnam to pick a side. It either like like Russia and Japan have Vietnam, or it's either the USA have Vietnam building nuclear power plant. And I mean, we couldn't pick a side. We couldn't work with Japan, neither the Japan or Russia. We also didn't trust the USA and its lapdog, so we just like put aside that power plant. It was really devastating, and there were way more than that. I just told you like very very basic fundamental reasons why we stop it. But yeah, if if you when we talk about the detail in the main topic, I can talk more about that too. Does Mekong have some dam for hydro energy? It does, but not in Vietnam. It's in Laos and China. So Vietnam only has the end of Mekong system, so it is very nutritious, and the soil is very like good for growing food, but it's not good enough for hydroelectric dams. So no, we have a hydroelectric dam for Mekong, but it's in Laos and China, where the terrain is better and then the water flow is stronger. Vietnam just the end of the Mekong, so we couldn't. So most of the hydroelectric in Vietnam is in the north, because the north of Vietnam, our terrain, we have like high mountain, so we can use that. In the south, mostly because of so here's the thing: the difference is not in south Vietnam, it's the north of Vietnam. The north doesn't have a good sunlight and wind like in the south, but we have the terrain for dams, so the hydroelectric dams. So that was why most of the hydroelectric power plant is in the north and the central of Vietnam, where the terrain is good for it. But in the south, because the land is mostly flat and the water flow is kind of slow, but it has like extremely strong wind and solar system. So mostly in the south, the south of Vietnam, we have a green energy power plant. So that cause, what's been going on in Vietnam right now, also heavily related to that too. Can I talk about the new president in Vietnam? I don't know much about it, but it seems that there has been an important change in leadership. Yes, so the previous president, the former president of Vietnam was Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, and he was okay guy. I like him, but the big issue was that his family members. All right, so I'm not gonna name who because so like that's there is until now there is no evidence that that guy is corrupted himself, or maybe he's too smart to not do it by himself, so he got away with it. But his family members were heavily involved in big, huge corruption in Vietnam that related to COVID-19. To, for example, the company who made like test kits in Vietnam, so the test kits was fine, but like that company like bribed a lot and working with that president's family members, and then they like double the price, cheaper the price, and force other Vietnamese like province to buy it, to take a lot of national budget into their pockets. So his family members are involved deeply in that. So that was why, like, because like when we crack down all on that corruption and we figure out that his family member actually helped with that, so he stepped down. So that is the surface story that most of Vietnamese people know about it. That president, because his family members got involved in terrible corruption, and when that corruption was cracked down, that president resigned and said that he doesn't deserve this position anymore, so he stepped down. So the new guy was voted by the National Assembly, and the new guy is from the center of Vietnam, and he used to be, I don't know, the head of the People's Committee in Quảng Nam province or something. So, and he is very, very, very tough in the South China Sea problem. By the way, we do not call it South China Sea. I just said it so you can understand what I was talking about. What we Vietnamese people call is the Vietnamese East Sea, and what like Filipino people call is the Filipinos like West Sea. So it's like it is a region where um oh shit, this is a reason where like we all the 4 or 5 countries of Southeast Asia share same kind of ocean, and we've been living together. But one day, I mean, this is the biggest sea dispute that we ASEAN country having with China. So it's like that. So it's complicated. But that guy was very, very tough on that. That was why we kind of like him, and he's also a good comrade too. So we voted him. Hopefully, he won't be involved in any future corruption. But I mean, that's all we know for now. Oh, hello from Chile. Hi. Thank you for your hug. I'm hugging you again now. Feel my hug yet? Yeah, speaking of the current Prime Minister of Vietnam met Lula in a bilateral reunion during the G7 meeting in Japan. Yeah, that is very cool. I heard about that too. Super cool. What does Vietnamese people think of the rise of extreme right and fascism in the world? Yes, we know about that a lot, and we're pretty concerning about that. Here's the thing: we most of not all, but most of Vietnamese who have a deep understanding about the West, because to be honest, lots of Vietnamese, even Vietnamese communists, we don't have a deep understanding on the West. No, we don't, because mostly there are two main reasons for that. Because um, here's the thing. Right, there are two main reasons why vast majority of Vietnamese communists are not expert on the West. First of all, we are Vietnamese born and living in Vietnam. We pretty much happy over here. We have our own problems to deal with. It doesn't mean that we are perfect. So, like, okay, we won the revolution. We have our own country. We have our own problems and issues that we need to care about. So, why do we have to waste our time caring about the West? That is why vast, and also like most of them don't speak English because we do not need to speak English and have our own country, autonomy like that. So like lots of them kind of do not know much about the West at all. So like, it doesn't fucking matter, right? So, but like there are still a kind of uh part of Vietnamese communist community that understand the West because like they are like me, they good at speaking English and reading English, and also we talk with each other a lot, teach each other too. That was why my plan was to have a Vietnamese channel to Vietnamese audience talking about the West, to educate Vietnamese comrades about that. But anyway, back to the main topic. The second reason is that we have most of the information source that Vietnamese can get is from mainstream media. Means that it's extremely right-wing, anti-communist, and extremely fascist propaganda. So most of us, because we don't have a better source than that, and we don't trust those sources, so it's like rather just not read about it, be ignorant about it, because there's no better way to know about it except talking to actual real people. But then in a way, again, we're not good at English, and you also don't speak Vietnamese, so it's kind of communication problem like that. So that was why there are no good source for Vietnamese communists about the West, and also we have our own issue and our own country to deal with. So I mean that is why the rise of fascism is extremely right in the world. It is. I'm talking about Vietnamese communists who know decently about the West. We are very concerned about that. It is a very concerning problem. We consider fascism to be the antibodies of a decaying capitalism, right? So we know, we think, we believe that capitalism with the peak as imperialism is decaying the USA and people are suffering. And the ruling class, because they know that the economy is collapsing, people are suffering, and there will be more and more uprising like what happened in USA in 2020. There's going to be way more protests and way more police brutality. And we know that fascism is rising as the last hope for capitalism, the antibodies of capitalism to go out, kill people, and to maintain the status quo. And that's what we understand is creepy, is concerning, and we know that a lot of us are going to suffer from that, and we really hope that things will get better, and somehow you can somehow manage to work together to organize and to make some change, because if we don't do anything right now, you're going to end up very miserably, just like Vietnamese people in the 20s and 30s when we didn't have revolution and millions of us were dying. Over 90% of Vietnamese people were illiterate because the French colonialists intentionally kept us like that, they kept us uneducated, so it's going to be easier for them to brainwash us. And it was to the point about that in just 5 years from 1940 to 1945, 10% of Vietnamese population died of starvation under fascism and colonialism. And if you don't do something, you're gonna end up like us in the 40s. And I hope that we have somehow figure it out. Oh, đợi thị. My mom's asking for a phone number. Chị Lâm phải xem. Đây này.
09 cô đặt cái cô giảm mất chưa?
091. Đây. 605.
Cô chữ nói đọc đi 605.
Đây có viết chưa?
Rồi 605.
Đây có viết chưa?
091605.
Số điện thoại người khác tôi không muốn đọc lên đây. Không viết. Đây. Đây là Lâm nha. So, okay. My mom just asked for a phone number. A lady that I know. Oh, there's a hi Ben. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for stream energy. In the UK, have to sleep with. We'll watch later. Oh, okay. Good night. Good night. Have a sweet dreams. And what's going on in the UK lately? Like, now you have a King Charles III, right? It's obviously the king already, right? Yes. How does Vietnam feel about refugees? I mean, we welcome you. We are very friendly people, welcoming people, and if you want to escape your country, please come here. We just want you to. All we want from you is respect our people, respect our culture, and don't come here to be criminal. Uh, f- by criminals, I mean serious crimes such as sexual abuse. Because you know that there are a lot of sex abusers. Serious criminals in Vietnam came to Vietnam to abuse our women and to abuse our children. That is not good. So respect our people, respect our culture, and don't become assholes like that. And that's it. And if you're nice, if you're cool, if you want to enjoy a new way of life, you want to be in the community, you want to live with like decent living conditions, with everything is affordable, come to Vietnam. We welcome you. Okay. Hmm. Oh, that's a silver sticker from Chilean Conrad. Let me see. On what channel is it? This is what I hate about StreamYard. StreamYard only show the freaking line that says "No, silver sticker," but it doesn't show that what that silver sticker is. No one. What channel is it on? I'm mad. Not here. What do I think as a good source for socialist news? You can check out International Magazine. They have a Twitter and they are online magazine, and they run by a lot of like communists all around the world, and they have a connection with all the communist parties in the world. Here's the silver sticker. I saw it. It's a it's a Shiba dog, Shiba Inu, and it say hiya. It's so cute. Thank you, anti-fascista. Why? I don't think that he will ever do that. Good source for socialist views. I have the International Magazine, run by comrades all around the world. Definitely a leftist, anti-fascist news source. Check it out, International Magazine. The second one is tạp chí Cộng sản, the Communist Review, run by the Communist Party of Vietnam. It's also good. So far, those are the two best news sources that I can think of. There are some few more, but kind of okay, on and off. Vietnam news also fine, not great, but Vietnam news also fine. What else? Vietnam insiders? No. Forget it. Vietnam news. Yep. Hey Luna, my family moved to Vietnam to live. Could my family move them to live and contribute with society, or do we need to first learn the language to integrate? A lot of families move to Vietnam before learning any of language. Because like if you just live in big cities, most of people knows how to speak English. I mean, and we can make like some very basic communication with that, it's all gonna be fine, totally fine. And if you like, if we would really appreciate it if you somehow learn a little bit of Vietnamese, just enough to say hello, goodbye, or how much is this. But that's just it. That's just it. The energy is just kind of weak. uh, but yeah, if you and your family want to go to Vietnam, yeah, just go. Just make sure that you can afford, round trip airplane ticket. So just in case something didn't go well, it's rare, but prepare for the worst, right? That's something you maybe you don't like this, in living environment. It's fine. You can always just go back to your family in your country. So say, yeah, just like make sure that you have a round trip ticket, and if you need to push back, you can push back something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's no language barrier here. Learning Vietnamese is just like a bonus point that you should, any of you should learn Vietnamese. So show that you respect our people and our culture and our language. You like show some effort in interacting with Vietnamese people. But if even if you can't learn it, that's fine. Most of Vietnamese people, especially Vietnamese people in the big cities like Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, or Da Nang, they speak English very well. Oh, Gio said, yeah, confirm that the international magazine is really good for news. Yep. Oh, Brazilian comrades. Hi. Brazil here too. Okay, hi there. Eli, what are foreigners' reactions to communism in Vietnam, especially when they see Hammer and Seeker around the country? According to what EJ told me, when he first came to Vietnam and saw, the Seeker and Hammer everywhere, red flags everywhere, he told me that it scared him. And I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard because it's like this is a freaking normal thing you will grow up with. And he told me that of course, like he's totally like a comrade now, but that time he was young and he just moved to Asia, and all of the news that he had about communism was bad news because of the freaking propaganda system in the USA. And he always thought that communist country means just like average, Westerner. The thing that communists, even if they don't think communists as evil or something, they still believe that it's something like scary, authoritarian, poor, like cops everywhere. But after like a few days, visiting Vietnam, EJ like loved the country and decided to settle here. Like he's been here for 10 years already. So yeah, I found that amusing because to me the sicko and hammer is just like a daily life thing, and we never think of it as evil or anything. It's just like it is our symbol and that's just it. So yeah, it's very interesting to know about that. And nowadays, thanks to the social media or something, lots of people that I talk for foreigners who came to Vietnam, because they're communists and they want to experience a communist living, a, a communist society. How does it feel to live in it? I mean, no, many of them do not hate or scared of that symbol anymore, but I bet there are still, because they are still shitty foreigners who call themselves expats. I hate the word expat, so whenever I say the word expat, it's quote unquote, and I said it in sarcastic way. They're all immigrants, by the way. So they're themselves expats, and they just like they live in Vietnam for years. They benefit from the society. They benefit from socialism, very affordable lifestyle, nice people, friendly people, amazing food, and then they still shit about Vietnam and on Vietnamese people. They still racist to Vietnamese people and treat people like our people like dirt. And it's fucked up, man. It's fucked up, and I don't want that. I want if like I always want to tell those people like, okay, this is not your home country. I mean, you hate this country that much. If it's so evil and authoritarian to you, can you just get the fuck out? Nobody's keeping you. Nobody's stopping you. And those people like those shitty people usually I recommend one bad news source that you should never check. Nope, never check, but you should know about this. It's Saigoneer. Saigoneer is English speaking tabloid newspaper based in Ho Chi Minh City, run by white people. And it mostly just, run ads for restaurants in the south of Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. But the main issue that I have with them is that all of them, every single one that work for Saigoneer, I never met any good journalist who work for Saigoneer. That is horrible. Especially the guy Mike Tatarski. I hate him so much. He's the chief editor of the Saigoneer, and he's uh, an overt anti-communist racist asshole. And they've been stalking me for a while now. I had to block them all on all kind of my social media. It was creepy. They stalked me because I dare to confront their shittiness. I dare to confront their racism. Their Mike Tatarsky, he's in on Twitter. You can, I mean, don't check it out. Just beware whenever you see the name Saigoneer or Mike Tatarsky or anything like that. But yeah, my point is that there are a lot of shitty expats like that. They live living in Vietnam, benefiting from this economy, from this friendly people, from the awesome food and affordable housing. And they make money, make a very decent living out of lying about. I'm back. Oopsie, I'm back. What a coincidence when I was shitting on a shitty English speaking newspaper about Vietnam. The internet just down, and I couldn't be on the screen. Happens too many fucking times already. But anyway, again, I will say my point again. My point is pointing out those shitty uh, white journalists make up money living in Vietnam and make money on lying our own people. There are plenty of people like that. For example, I also, again, I do not recommend you to check this out, but know that it exists. There's a Hanoi expat group and Facebook group and Ho Chi Minh expat Facebook group. They are horrible. Hanoi expat group on Facebook and Ho Chi Minh expat group on Facebook. They are horrible. They racist asshole. And they were the one who they go on the social media and talk about freely about how shitty Vietnamese is, how shitty Vietnamese and how horrible Vietnamese people are, and we always just want to like make money out of them, to trick them, something like that. And they said that we are so authoritarian that they have no freedom in Vietnam. Why are they talk about that freely on the internet? I was like, so fucking leave. If you hate this country so much, fucking leave. Why do you keep living here now? Why do you marry Vietnamese people, have a children here, and then you talk like you hate it so much? Fucking leave this country. Nobody's stopping you. Yeah, Albania, the communists in Albania. Yeah, I mean, at the time Vietnam was pretty much almost like alone on that. Very, 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 very few, you know, people in the world supported us. Because like, I mean, because the USA and the United Nations and also China at the same time, they block all of the truth about the Pol Pot. Most of the time, at that time, most of the world thought that Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge was just like a normal regime. I mean, they just want to run a country, have his own people. They thought that they were good, sort of something that in Vietnam was super evil to put them down because, like, again, as I said, the United Nations with its massive tools on propaganda and brainwashing people withheld information from the rest of the world, and it was only in the like 90s and early 2000 that people got educated about the truth about the regime of the Khmer Rouge. And at that time, also a lot of country, I think that they wanted to have Vietnam, but because of the scare of being sanctioned by the United Nations, they couldn't do anything. And yeah, communists in Albania, I was one of the very, very, very few group who like wanted to have Vietnam. I very much appreciate that. A friend in need is a friend indeed. All right, so back to the main topic today. Enough whining about those shitty racist expats, right? So, main topic today: energy crisis in Vietnam. It is pretty fucking bad. I'll show you this. Um, there are so many links. Um, Here we go. Oh no, not this yet. All right. So just a few days ago, though, I'll show you the news and then I explain why it's going on like this and what does that mean. Here we go. So just a few days ago, the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Vietnam had a. Let me translate this thing first into English. All right, so here we go. The Ministry of Industry and Trade talked about the lack of electricity handling with wind and solar power projects outside the planning. So as you can read from this title, Vietnam is facing a huge lack of electricity that we can call it an energy crisis. And this is the Minister of Trade and Industry. He doesn't look happy at all, right? He looks very. He looks like he's about to cry. I mean, it is a very serious national problem. Some places are lacking electricity for production and people's life. Responding to the press, Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade Do Thang Hai as said, we are talking about the risk of electricity shortage. In fact, there are some places that are currently lacking electricity for production as well as people's life, and that is very concerning. Okay. Here, this situation has increased the demand for domestic. What situation? Leader Ministry said that the first 4 months of the year, the electricity supply situation was stable. However, from the beginning of May until now, a record heat has occurred in many localities across the country, and unpredictable development which are expected to continue until June. Means that we are facing an El Nino. I mean, we call it El Nino. What it means is like we are facing a huge heat wave and drought all over the country, especially in the north and central of Vietnam. This situation has increased the demand for domestic electricity consumption. Meanwhile, the water flow to hydropower reservoir is very low, especially in the northern hydropower reservoir, which greatly affect the power supply in the dry season of 2023. All right. So that is like yeah, that is like the main issue that I want to talk about today. In Vietnam right now, we are facing horrible climate change problem. We are having terrible heat wave that lasted over a month already. It was horrible, over a fucking month heat wave, and it was predicted to last this month too, until the end of June. That is, yeah. And then so because of that, because of so freaking hot, it's like 110 and 115 on the daylight. Vietnamese people, we use air conditioner a lot, fans, air conditioners, fridge, and it caused like a huge, like drastic increase in the electricity consumption of Vietnamese people. That was why all of the all of the power plants in Vietnam like got overloaded during that time last month, and also because of the fucking heat wave, we don't have enough rain, so all of our water reservoir were dry right now, so we don't have enough water to run electricity. The heat wave still going on. There's no rain, but we don't have a water, and it is fucked up. And as I said about 2 weeks ago, when I talk about, or last week when I talk about how Vietnamese liberals do not understand electricity, it is a national problem and it is very concerning. In this, I'll show you more about this so you can know about, the structures, the energy structure of Vietnam. Oh, where is it? Here we go. This is a good article right here. Let me stop sharing this one and sharing this article. Share screen. This article should explain to you very clearly what's been going on, why it happened, and what's the future solution for it. Okay, why do we like electricity? Right? Here, let me show you this first. From Vietnam Express. Vietnam Express is also an okay source. Why do we? This is a translation. Google translation is not going to be great, but anyway, please bear with me. Why do we like electricity? After working for nearly 10 years for the first time, Mr. Lê Đình Hùng, an employee of a component manufacturing company in Bắc Ninh, was given a break because the company lost power all day. Again, this is, my dad also said the same thing. We haven't had this crisis since 2010. Because in 2010, when Vietnam just got out of the US sanction and we were developing our economy really fast, way faster than the energy capacity of Vietnam. So we lost a lot of electricity. And at that time, electricity was like one day on and one day off, or like half day on, half day off. Today, right now, in my hometown, I was lucky that today is Wednesday in Vietnam. There's an electricity day, because yesterday there was no electricity, and tomorrow there will be no electricity. It's just on one day on and on, one day off. And that it was as bad as 2010. So it was like everybody was shocked, and I feel like we're back in 2010 now. Might just stay back now. 8 p.m. of evening, June 4th, Hong received a message from his manager saying he was off work because of our power cut from 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. on that. All right. So, in many places in the north, business had to stop production because of the power cut. It happened like all over Vietnam, mostly in the north and central, to be honest. Hoàn Kiếm Lake, the center of the capital city of Vietnam, Hoàn Kiếm Lake in Hanoi, recent evening are likened to being in the day of Earth hour. I mean, like, it's as dark as in Earth hour, because, like, with Earth hour is when, like, the whole country, the whole something, like, shut down electricity for an hour or something. I mean, it's dark like this. It's not something that we are familiar with. It's darker than usual because many lighting system and billboards are turned off. All right. Turning off life to save electricity has been implemented by Hanoi and many provinces and cities at the same time. Hey, continue. See, 50% of the light bulb along Ben Bridge, Hanoi are not turned on. People have to move with the light emitted by vehicles. So usually, if you don't know, understand it yet, usually in this picture at night like this, like the whole bridge is very bright, and also the house, on the left side of the picture, they all bright too. But now it's just like dark like this at night. Only like the big building far, far away have some light in it. That's how what we're dealing with. Why does the North like electricity? The spike in electricity consumption due to the heat in the first season explained by the leader of the ministry. The same thing we said the same thing. The heat wave that we've been dealing with. The average electricity consumption of the whole country reached nearly 220 million kilowatt a day in May, an increase of more than 20% compared to April. And on the day May 19 alone, the peak of the heat wave time, the consumption volume has nearly 924 million kilowatt, the highest level since the beginning of the year, and still increasing 10.5% over the same period of last year. Oh my gosh. All right. In Hanoi, the continuous power shortage in many areas. All right. Okay, this is it. This is just Hanoi alone. The Hanoi electricity consumption every month. So like is it like tháng 1 means like January, February, March, April is kind of low like this, and in the May it's like shoot up until this, and then it's like the kind of orange yellow is 2022 and the red is 2023. It's like up like this, like hit like this. That was why. All right. However, so you can see that here the thing it explains why the electricity consumption in Vietnam is up a lot, but the capacity of the electricity could not keep up with that. So it means that, long story short, it means that every single year there are a lot of electrical kind of, what do you call it, machines being sold out, such as like air conditioner, kettle, stoves, fridge got sold out, and that amount of those machines, the electricity to function those machines cannot keep up with that because like too fast, we're growing too fast. Long story short, it means that Vietnamese people, our economy is growing double faster than the electricity capacity of Vietnam. This summer is 0.5 degrees Celsius higher than multi-year average. Yep, this summer is hotter. All right, so that is why our economy is growing faster than our energy system can cover. So that is why I have like electricity. And now, remember Conrad before asked about the structure of all kinds of energy in Vietnam, and this is the answer. Okay, in the north of Vietnam, miền Bắc means the north. In the north of Vietnam, about 48% is nhiệt điện means like we use the heat. You use thermal, not geothermal, but we use thermal power plant, account for 48%. 43% is hydroelectric, and 9% is green energy. In the south, 48% is thermal, only 11% is hydroelectric, and 40% is green energy. So that I explained to you why it's like this before. I say it again for people who just joined the stream. The reason why in the north of Vietnam they're very low green energy, meanwhile in the south it's almost account for half of it. It is because in the north we do not have a good like sunlight hour a day. And because we have a 4 season and it's very dark and cloudy for half of a year, so we could not have a good solar system. At the same time, with the wind system too, we do not have a good wind in Vietnam, in north of Vietnam. So that's why only green energy, mostly wind and solar system, account for only 9%. Meanwhile, in the south, oh, like that. Even though the north doesn't have a good solar or wind kind of a possibility like that, but we have a great terrain for hydroelectric because we have a high mountain and big rivers over there with strong flow. That was why we have a lot of hydroelectric in the north of Vietnam. Meanwhile, in the south, because it is just like a big delta, the terrain was mostly flat, not good for hydroelectric. So we only have 11.4% of hydroelectric power plant, like electricity, but the 40% from green energy means that, yeah, in the south, closer to the equalizer, and the wind is great, the sun is great. That is why 40% electricity in the south come from green energy. All right. So because of this, look at this map. Because 43% of electricity in the north is from hydroelectric, and now we are facing a drought season. Horrible drought, no rain and heat wave. Of course, we don't have water to run those hydroelectric power plants. That was why, like, electricity in the south is pretty stable because the hydroelectric only account for 11%. Which part of Vietnam I am in? In the central of Vietnam. I'm in the central of Vietnam. Central, but actually we usually count it as the north because it's very close to the north. Okay, here. This is a chart of showing the energy capacity and the energy consumption of each region of Vietnam. Like, look at first. The first is the north. The yellow rectangular, the yellow column is the what do you call it? The development, the increase of electricity every year, and 9.3% is the consumption percentage. See, the consumption percentage is double than the electricity increase in the north. That was why we like electricity. Meanwhile, in the center of Vietnam, is more stable. Like the consumption only like 10%, but electricity is like 16.5%. In the south is amazing. It's only 7%. Electricity is 21%. That is why the shortage of electricity mostly happens just in the north. All right. And this is the whole national structure of our types of energy. The first one is based on the productivity of electricity. The first one is the thermal power plant using mostly coal, 27,287. The second one is hydroelectric, 23,000. The third one is green energy, 21,839. And the next one is, the air turbine. I don't even know what it is, but the air turbine, it says. The next one, 1,627, is like gas or diesel kind of power plant. And the lowest one here that doesn't even have a number on it is the imported power plant. So you see, I kind of like it when I, see the green energy is almost the same equal with hydroelectric right now. That show you how much, we want to have green energy system to protect our environment. Sadly, we still rely on this coal a lot. Hopefully in the future we can get rid of it when we can, develop strong green energy system. But for now, we mostly have to rely on this, on the thermal coal power plant. Okay, these are the chart. This is the chart showing who what kind of what you call it, like what companies that own the electricity, means that the power plant, because uh again, despite the fact that a lot of Vietnamese liberals saying that Vietnam is like monopoly on making electricity, the fact is that 34,000 is owned by private. This is like the power plant, power plant owned by private. Private means that, like there could be private, like green energy systems, solar power plant and wind power plant could be owned by private companies. And also a lot of, like, rooftop solar system, also private, so it's all counted here. The biggest EVN and its the companies or a bunch of EVN groups account for 29,000. BOT, PVN, TKV is like the three different companies, and import is just like this. So, yep. Checking the chat right now. Vietnam is here's the thing, even though many companies, many private companies can go and build their own power plant in Vietnam, but the EVN is mostly controlled the distribution system. Means that they have to sell their energy to EVN in Vietnam so they can sell it to customers. And this is the thing that mostly got horribly attacked by Vietnamese liberals and neoliberals. It is because that's I explained it in my previous stream before, but I say it again. The reason why the government of Vietnam want EVN, the state-owned company, to control the distribution is just because we want to make sure that electricity is affordable to Vietnamese people. That's all. So it means that we allow private sectors to go in and have their own power plants, but they have to sell it to us with reasonable price, or else nobody's going to buy from them, because EVN of Vietnam, the government of Vietnam own the distribution system. And of course, this attack by neoliberals, those people, they capitalists, they bootleggers, they think that competition is good, and they think that if we just put the electricity system in the hand of private companies of capitalists, things gonna be great. The individual hand will fix every single problem that we have right now, especially when we are facing energy crisis around. I mean, it's I can't stand it. I have to whine to you about this. I'm so annoyed by this. But you know that, yes, the lack of electricity is a huge topic in Vietnam right now. And when we were talking about, what's going on and how would he fix in the future, those Vietnamese liberals, they just jump in and talk about it, whine about it, and then they suggest us that privatization. They believe that privatization will somehow magically fix this problem. It's privatization is the lack of electricity in Vietnam right now is not because of distribution problem. It's not. We're already good at distributing it. The problem is that we don't have water to make electric, to produce electricity. We don't have a water, and we are facing a heat wave, and too many families turn on their ACs. That is why we don't have enough energy. It's not because of distribution problem. Because privatization will not do shit. I don't know how else can I explain more so they can understand it. It's not about distribution. It's not. Privatization will not change anything. What The only thing that privatization will do when we face a crisis like this, the only thing that privatization will do is to charge way more money for any household that want to use electricity. And they only give money to that family if they agree with their own price. That's it. It does it will not make the issue go away. It just redistribute electricity to the people, to rich people who can afford that. Poor people, you can afford that. Fuck you. We don't give a shit. Do they want it to suck like twice as much for 5 times the cost? How much is solar and wind production in Vietnam? Here, right here, I show you. It's right here. All right, I show you right here. There's a chart right here for you. I just showed it in the screen. It varies from north to south of Vietnam, but here's the detailed chart. Here we go. So you can see in the north of Vietnam, the yellow is green energy. So in the north of Vietnam, the green energy is 9%, and in the south of Vietnam is 40.1%. And I will explain it to you, since you will ask, some of you might ask, oh, so why the south of Vietnam is so great? Why the north doesn't have a wind solar energy system like in the south? The north sucks. Really, that is exactly the same as argument as the liberals, because those liberals, they tend to love the south and hate the north, and they believe that the south under the occupation of USA would be as rich as South Korea, and then now the reason why the south is so poor is because the north sucks all of the wealth out of the south. I couldn't stand that, but anyway, I just show you like how ding dong these people are. So okay, the north of Vietnam, green energy only account for 9% because we don't have material conditions for it, because we don't have enough sunlight in a day, sometime in the day. And we also don't have enough wind, because believe it or not, the north of Vietnam, we have a winter and autumn. We have a 4 seasons, and it's very dark and cloudy and nearly half of a year. So we can't have a much solar system. The wind also not good because we don't have a flat land like in the south, so the wind is not good. The wind also very seasonal too. So yeah, only 9%. How cold is the winter? The winter could be down to in the north of Vietnam could be down to -6 in the mountain area. Usually is about 40 to 45 degree Fahrenheit, about 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, and in the mountain area it could be down to -6. Snow and ice in the north. It doesn't happen like that in the south of Vietnam. In the south of Vietnam, but again, I keep forgetting this. In the north of Vietnam, we have a like great terrain for hydroelectric power, because we have a high mountain and strong river, big rivers with strong flow. That is why we have 43% as hydroelectric. Meanwhile, in the south, mostly flat land in the end of the Mekong Delta system. So it's not good for hydroelectric because the water is slow and mostly the land is just flat. But they closer to the equalizer, so the wind is great, the electricity is great. That is why the green energy accounts for 40% of the percentage in south of Vietnam. North Vietnam sounds like England for weather. Kinda, yeah. What are the color labeling the key? Green is hydroelectric, orange is thermal power plant, and yellow is green energy. Equator. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was missing. Yeah, equator. The south closer to the equator, so more of green energy. And so those people, the funny thing too, because again I said like those liberals in Vietnam, they believe that the North sucks and the South is so much better under U.S. occupation. And look at the South now, 40% of the percentage from green energy, the South is so great, but the North sucks. We're like, dude, yes, it is true that South Vietnam, 40% of it is green energy, but you know that we have it under communism, right? Fucking this communist country build that green energy in the south, and that is why now you have a 40% green energy power plant. It is built under this communist regime, not under US occupation. So shut up about it. Yeah, I mean the north and south of Vietnam difference in um weather is like, the east and the west in the USA. I mean, meanwhile, like one side you're having files on you're having like forest fire, the other side you're having freaking rainstorm. Just, yeah, like that. Yeah, specifically, how did the privatization come up? Those Vietnamese liberals, they are bootlickers, and to them, every single thing can be solved by privatization. Just privatize it, and everything will be done. They never explain how it happened, how will it happen, and why do it happen. It's just that, oh, just privatize it. All the crisis we have right now is because of the monopoly in distributing electricity in Vietnam. Like, no, it's not. The problem is not about distributing. The problem is about the water source for it. You ding dong. Do liberals have enough power for privatization to seem possible in the near future? I don't think so. They are very loud on the internet. Yes, loud mouth. But I don't. No, they're not strong enough. No, they too ding dongs. They freaking ding dongs. So at the same time, too, as I talk about energy crisis, we lack electricity, we lack water to make electricity. Of course, it leads to the problem that we also don't have a running water in big cities in the north of Vietnam, like in Hanoi even. Let me show you this. It sucks a lot. Let me share you this. Tens of thousands of families in Hanoi now doesn't have a running water, or only have running water for a few hours a day. It's going on right now where I live in the center of Vietnam right now. We lose water from morning until 4 p.m. We only have a running water after 4 p.m. That is a national problem. It is because we are facing a terrible drought, and we don't have enough water for people to drink. Why can't I translate this? Come on. It doesn't translate. But anyway, it doesn't freaking matter. For example, this picture of a family living in Hanoi City, the capital city of Vietnam. And in the middle of the night, when the electricity, he had to like bring down cans like this and go to other areas, other house to ask for water, like this. Usually, water in a whole building, the whole building, residential building will stop having running water, and they have to go ask for water. Look like this, and they buy water from the stores, and it's extremely horrible in a heat wave when you don't have water to drink or to take a shower or literally to cook. It sucks a lot. There you go. I mean, so it's very rough in Vietnam right now. No running water, that really sucks. I know. Because we facing direct fucking climate change, man. We're facing it. Literally. That is why. That is why. That is why I can't stand any one who's still denying the climate change. Because we are literally living in it. Little health issues. So exactly. Imagine if hospital that doesn't have electricity and running water at the same time. Jesus Christ. That was us a couple of years ago. The building lost water during a winter storm. It sucked a lot. Yes. So here we go. Some people don't have to live in it yet. Exactly. It is. That is why that even though the USA is a country who've been lecturing the rest of the world about how important environment is, how we must protect our environment, must protect our forests, must protect our water, and they run around, they force other countries to abandon, the traditional power plant and build wind and solar energy power plant. Now, on one hand, that is a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. All right, that every country, if they can, should switch from thermal power plant, hydroelectric into something like more stable, such as green energy or nuclear power. But on the other hand, the USA is a country, the biggest country that does not give a shit about environment. I tell you that. Just go and check out the list of countries that signed the what do you call it? The agreement to reduce the CO2 emissions. Vietnam signed, most of the world signed, but the USA didn't sign. Last time I checked, I could be wrong. I hope that the USA signed now, but last time I checked, the USA didn't sign on that agreement. They refused to reduce the CO2 emission. But at the same time, they run around and lecture other countries about how to do it. And now to talk about this, the reason why Vietnam do not have nuclear power plant yet. Yeah, the Paris Climate Accords. Yes. The US military is the world's largest polluter. Exactly. And now we Vietnamese, this small country in Southeast Asia, half of the country's coastline, we are terrible. One of the first victims of climate change when it hit us. And it is hitting us right now. And we are building a lot of green energy system. We are regrowing our forests. That is why Vietnam is a country with the highest percentage of reforestation in Asia. 56% of our country is covered in jungle. Means that more than half of our country is covered in jungle. How much more can you expect from that? We still have to maintain our economy, develop our country, feed our people, but at the same time, we fucking still have to do the reforestation, build green power energy. It sucks. And then when in the 2013, I remember 2010, Vietnam wanted to have nuclear power plant because that is, for now, the most stable energy source so human can come up with, right? Beside like the nuclear thermal power plant that we are still struggling, finding a way to make it work, to make it effective. By now, the most stable one that have the most productivity is nuclear power, and in the 2010s, Vietnam did try to do it. And we asked Japan and Russia to help because Japan and Russia, both countries, they have great experience in working with that, right? right around the same time when we were sending the 200 best students in Vietnam to Japan and Russia for training to run our future nuclear power plant, Fukushima had earthquake, and the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan got exploded, and it was an environmental crisis to the whole entire country of Japan. At the same time, a few years later, Russia had a situation with Ukraine and NATO, and they were heavily, cornered by the West. So Vietnam were kind of, holy shit, we cannot openly work with Russia right now, because if we do, the rest of the world, especially the USA and its lapdogs and NATO, will bully us into sanction. We also cannot ask Japan for it because they're dealing with their own fucking internet crisis right there. They don't have any time and effort to help us. No. And at the same time, the USA and South Korea, I remember, and a bunch of other countries too, jump in and say like, hey, we can help you with this. Just like, let us build your own fucking nuclear power plant for you. Was like, no. Excuse me, the US used just bomb us back to fucking Stone Age less than 50 years ago, 40 years ago. And now you're asking us to trust you enough to allow you to build a nuclear power plant in Vietnam? Like, no way, no. So we couldn't do it. And at the same time, Vietnam was facing economic crisis still in 2015. Because you remember the economic crisis in the USA in 2008. Vietnam was kind of out of the loop of the world economy. So that same economic crisis only hit Vietnam until 2016, right around the same time that we were about to have our own nuclear power plant. So we didn't have enough money to build our nuclear power plant, and we couldn't help for anybody. We couldn't ask for anybody for help because of all the reasons I explained to you. At the same time, the USA and its lapdogs also imply to Vietnam that if we do not allow them to help us build a nuclear power plant, Vietnam will be under the sanction again. At least it's gonna be like a military sanction where we cannot develop anything that related to nuclear power. So that was why Vietnam does not have a nuclear power plant yet. Sucks a lot, huh? Modular thermal thorium liquid salt reactors from India or China. Yes, we did consider this issue, but we are dealing with, like our coastline too, and also it costs so much money to build it. Dude, it costs so much money. There are very, very many options right there, but Vietnam is like, there also option of geothermal, which is we cannot choose it because we don't have the enough condition for it, because the land in Vietnam is pretty stable. It's not active at all, the soil of Vietnam. So we need to dig really, really fucking deep for that. So it's not even worth it, the effort and the money that costs. About the modular thermal thorium liquid salt reactors in the center, so it's also hard to build. And also now mostly the country that has it, mostly like the rich countries. In Japan, they have one something like that, right? But like, yet it's gonna take decades for Vietnam to research that. Where can we build it? How can we build it? And how much it's gonna cost? And how much the output can we get from it? Is it productive or not? So I mean, even if we really consider this, it's gonna take Vietnam decades to have this one. So no, and the energy crisis that we are dealing with right now is emergency problem. It's right fucking now. So again, I was saying too. Remember the chart that I showed you? About 40% of in the South Vietnam is green energy system. Yes. What we want is that in the future, the South will send electricity to the North. But we cannot do that yet because we do not have a grid system for that yet. Because the grid system that we have right now to run North to South Vietnam is already full. So we cannot send more electricity. We cannot send electricity from south back to the north, because we don't have a grid system for that. Again, we can deal with that in the next 5 or 10 years when we are building that, but we will not finish until the next 5 or 10 years. So theoretically, we can deal with this shit when the heat wave ends, or the rain season starts, or we can build a grid system to send green energy from south to north. But right now, we can't yet because the infrastructure is not ready yet. So we are all talking about long-term solutions for very short-term emergency problems. Sucks a lot. Interesting how Vietnam is a ring of fire, but not in it. So no active volcanism for geothermal power. Nope, we don't have any active whatsoever. Nope. We had one or two volcanoes, but it was millions of years ago. So it's not active at all. That's why, like Japan or Philippines or Indonesia, they all that have that very active, but Vietnam's not. Yeah, a lot of energy is wasted over long distances. It's inefficient. Exactly. That is why it sucks a lot when we cannot have a nuclear power plant, even though we had fucking planned for it 10 years ago. We could have had it now. But because of all the shitty nonsense that I just talked about, we couldn't have it yet. Damn it. When we start develop, we got sabotage. Exactly. And I want to talk about this too. Vietnamese companies talk about this a lot. We are under the boots of a lot of rich countries on earth. Here's the thing. Those rich countries I'm talking about, USA, Canada, UK, US, Denmark, Scandinavian countries, they already developed and they already exploited the world 100 and 200 years ago. 100 years ago, already exploited the whole fucking world, colonized the rest of the world. They got a lot of money and natural resources, and they destroyed a lot in the environment. But they are, because here's the thing, you have to understand this. Those countries I'm talking about here is US, UK, Canada, NATO countries, Scandinavian countries. You can, a bunch of liberals look at those countries as, like, the hope of humanity in the future, because those countries, like, they in the outside they look very stable and rich. They use a lot of green energy to protect the environment, right? Meanwhile, the countries in the global south right now, we're destroying our environment. We like sacrificing our cultural economic development. Now, here's the truth about it. Those countries, like US, UK, Scandinavian countries, NATO countries, 100 years ago, they conquered the world. They colonized the shit out of the rest of the world. They imperialized the shit out of us. They took our money. They took our natural resources. They brought it back to their own country. They literally already destroyed the environment 100 years ago, so they can have the benefits now. And now, since they are already fucking rich, but all the wealth that they got from us, they stole from us, they're rich. So now they can afford to care about the environment, right? So they're rich enough to waste a lot of money on building all of the green energy that we just talked about. It's great. It is fucking great. But those countries are the only countries that can afford that, because they take a fucking lot of time, human resources, and money to do that. It's not cheap. It's not cheap solution at all. It's not fucking cheap. It's very expensive. It costs a lot of time, money, and effort, and human resources. Now, those countries, because they already destroyed the world 100 years ago, now, because they're 100 years in front of us, now we are walking on the same road without exploiting them, because we were heavily exploited by them. Now we finally have a chance to develop ourselves using what resources we have left. Now those worlds, they are putting their boots onto our neck like this and say like, oh, you cannot do that, you cannot choose a cheap, stable, and sustainable energy resources because it's not good for the environment. No, you're a fucking poor country, but you also have to care with the environment. You have to destroy and either stop building the coal power plant, hydroelectric power plant. You have to build green energy right now, even though it costs us a fucking ton of wealth and human resources. And also, again, we have to buy that from us. We have to buy the solar power panels from us. We have to buy the wind turbine from us. We have to buy this machine to make electricity from salt water from us, because only us can make it. So okay, so they fucking put their boots on our fucking neck. A poor, exploited, oppressed country. Because like, no, because they fucking run around and lecture the rest of the world right now. That is like how frustrated, how angry we are. Like, yes, we fucking know that the environment is fucked, climate change is fucked, but most of it's fucked because you did it. You started a fuck. We didn't even have anything poisoning the air. Your fuck industry, you call it pollution. How much poison that you got, how much smokes and poisonous air they put in the air that time. And now we are all bearing the consequence from it. But then those countries, those rich countries, now they fucking have the fucking nerves to go and lecture us and blame every single thing on us. That's how disgusting it is. Yeah. Now Vietnam, we cannot have, because we cannot afford a bunch of other green energy except like wind, solar power, nuclear power. We try, but we fail because of the bunch of nonsense reason I just told you. And also, again, the environmental damage caused by dioxin. I'm back. I'm sorry, the internet, the electricity is not stable. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, now, because the electricity is not stable, so it affects our internet line too. God damn it. I'm living in it. Great. I'm living in the energy crisis in Vietnam right now. Oh, Jason Kukula, thank you so much for the super chat. US military is the largest greenhouse gas offender. Yep. And now we're bearing the consequence. Here's the thing too, it doesn't mean that we don't care about environment. We do, because we will be the first victim in the climate change. So we very much care about it. But again, our material conditions, we're not wealthy enough. We don't have enough conditions to have very expensive power system like that. And we need something that can deal with it right now, because we already have a bunch of long-term solutions. We are building a power grid to bring back the energy from South to North Vietnam, the green energy from South North Vietnam. We also, I hope that we can restart our nuclear power plant in the future. Also, finding another way to buy electricity from other countries and build new power plant or something like that. But again, it is we are facing it right now. It is a short-term solution, but we don't know what to do yet. A colonist is a mugger. A mugger blames his victims. Inside America, and other people and outside. I mean, yes, they have the tradition of blaming other people. Instead of, we have a saying in Vietnam that tiên trách kỷ hậu trách nhân, means that first you have to blame yourself, then after that you can blame other people. But in the West, the opposite. The first thing you would do is you find somebody to blame it. So I mean, instead of going learning like really like why it's like this, why this country is so poor, why they cannot afford that, and why the climate is so bad right now. Instead of learning the real cause of it, like the USA, the real cause is the military system. No, they run around and blame like third world country, the poor countries, like countries in Vietnam and Africa. It's literally like countries like Vietnam and Africa only account for a teeny tiny number of CO2 emissions in the world. Meanwhile, the USA with its military, the biggest polluter. And then no, but you don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We must talk about how African countries and Southeast Asian countries, they're so dirty. They throw trash everywhere. They throw trash on the ocean. They emit CO2s. They destroy the environment. So it's all because of them. Meanwhile, our country is great. Oh, gosh. Look at the USA. You don't even recycle bottles. I wish, actually, I'm going to talk about this soon, about recycling stuff. In Vietnam, we recycle every freaking thing. We recycle plastic, recycle aluminum, recycle metal, recycle paper, shit like that. But then you see what I'm saying? The only thing that you recycle is can. Coca-Cola cans, that's it. You don't recycle plastic. You don't recycle paper because it's not profitable for the company to do it, so they don't do it. So see, in the US, like you develop to the point that if it's not profitable, it's impossible. They cannot profit from recycling like plastic bottles and paper, so like there's no company that do it. So just like throw tons of fucking plastic every single day out to the environment. Meanwhile, we just see in tiny country recycle every fucking thing, and still we got blamed for the environment disaster. Vietnam is expected to increase from 150,000 megawatts to more than double, 352,000 megawatts by 2050, more than double. You say consumption only projected to increase by 20%. No? I saw a video where there are dioxin trees can't even grow. Exactly. Dioxin, Agent Orange, is one of the biggest environmental crises that Vietnam had to deal with, and we still have to deal with it to this day. Have to deal with it. It was caused by the freaking USA, but now somehow the USA is somehow now the biggest good force in the world of protecting the environment. Bullshit. You don't even fucking recycle fucking plastic bottles. Even though in every single bottle that, like water bottle, plastic bottle in the USA, it has the line saying "recycle me" or like I could be recycled or something like that. Like, but there's no company that do it because it's not profitable. I know. Yeah, I don't think that at all. I'm sorry if you misunderstand me, but I didn't mean it at all. I mean, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like liberals, Western liberals and neoliberals. They're running around and lecture the rest of the world. I mean, yeah. Yeah, electricity is very special commodity that you can just pack it up and send it on the ship. No, it's a live product. Only recycle if it's profitable. Yep. Yeah, and another point that I want to make is this: the reason why, one of the main reasons why Vietnam is facing energy crisis right now because we are developing too fast. Yep, that is the truth. We are developing too fast, way faster than our energy system can afford it. That is why we're facing it. The fact that Vietnam is a victim of your own success, economy growing extremely fast, causing electricity demand to increase by 10% a year, difficult for people in the developed countries to understand. Yeah, I mean they only see, and whenever we have a like crisis like this, they only see it as like the incompetent of communists of this country is so incompetent that it's facing energy crisis. And yeah, if you're very shallow about it, and if you just look at things from a very like surface level, you see like, oh, this is a communist country and they're facing energy crisis. They suck. They don't understand that we are facing it because we are developing too freaking fast. We are doing too well. That our energy infrastructure cannot deal with it yet because again building infrastructure is a decade long project and we are growing every freaking year. Aluminum and plastic companies save 95% by using recycled materials, so get the government to make a program and people to pick them up. It's exactly like that in Vietnam. They're like, like my aunt, one of her job is to go around and buy old cans and bottles and paper from other families and they sell them to the recycle company. And that's it. I mean, because we encourage people to do that, and the way that like before that in the like early 2000 when Vietnamese people were still poor, so usually we sold those like recyclable products that we have in our house for some money back because we're so poor. It's so important to us right now. But now, because we are all like have a better life, higher income, something like that, mostly we just give those things for free. So like my aunt, she's not rich, absolutely. And she said that a few years ago, she had to go and ask people and then pay the price and bargain the price for them and just like okay and make some profit selling to the company. But now people just gave it to her for free. It's like okay, they call like, hey, I have a bag of like plastic candy, like can you come here and grab it? This don't have to pay for anything. It's just like yeah, it's like we know that it is good for the environment. We know that we can at the same time we can help some like people in need to make some more money from it as a job. Like it's like it's a win-win situation. To us it's trash, but to them it's a tool to make money, and at the same time it's better for the environment. So yes, so mostly the job right now like my aunt's doing is just go around and you see like even people either like put a like big bag of that in front of their door and my aunt just go and grab it and sell it to the company and make some profit out of it. So it's fucking great. It's fucking great. Companies once said they were going to recycle plastic. However, that was a bold-faced lie. They never actually recycle them. Yep. The way that the U.S. deal with the plastic trash is this: they smash them together into a huge container, put it in a container, and they either force countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, or many other countries like China too. China, Vietnam, Malaysia, and many other countries in Africa and Southeast Asia too. They either sell that trash to us so we can recycle, or they fucking force us to take it. So they did the way they did it. Like, I work in import and export for a while, and I know how they did it. It's just like a trash container full of fucking trash, right? They just register it to the government, the import government, the custom now, like, oh, this is this product. We sell it to the company, so we hire. Okay, it is so fucking evil, but you should know about this. How the U.S. and rich country like Canada, they export trash to poor country, and when poor countries stop importing them because we are also developed enough that we don't buy trash anymore, we have enough trash in our country to deal with. The way that the West trick us into taking those trash is this: they hire a company, an import-export company, to import something from the USA, name it as like some machine or something like that, right? And then the shipment is there. And then when the shipment is here, it's left. They fucking left. They never take it back. So there are a lot of containers filled with trash that is stuck in the coastline in Vietnam and Malaysia and many other countries. Is because they're trash, and the rich countries just dump them there under the name of some instrument, and then they just fucking left. Can you fucking believe it? It happens. And a few years ago, a few companies, I remember one company that did that, they were under heavy investigation, and that company had to shut down. So it is pretty much, it's bad. And I do say fuck a lot. I'm sorry, because I'm so mad. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is how rich countries, they trick out the poor countries to import trash. And remember that a while ago, a few years ago, something that Canada, they send like a cargo ship full of trash to what countries? In Southeast Asia or something like that. In that country, take it back. And you know what Canada did? Canada, they dumped those containers full of trash onto the ocean. End of story. Great developed West. They don't recycle their products. They don't deal with their environment. Instead, they export trash to poorer countries. And when poorer countries like, no, we don't take that anymore, take it back home, they dump that onto the ocean. So, there we go. When I picked up cans for a living, the deposit was 5 cents per can in New York City. That was in the 90s. It's still 5 cents, having never been raised since 1982 for inflation. Gosh. Silly to place blame for climate change on not recycling by individuals. They were overreacting. Exactly. It's all about individual responsibility. If we all stop using plastic straw, the environment is going to be saved. 70% of CO2 is from corporate America, also I've read. Yes. And these days, other countries still refuse to sign the Paris Climate Accord. Our local landfill grew into a mountain because of trash more. Ôi dồi ôi, mất điện rồi à. Chị hôm qua vừa mất xong, mai sẽ mất, mỗi hôm nay có. There's a Vietnamese around in the chat. Like, well, since you talk about loss of electricity, her family, her house just got lost, just like electricity. So, well, dang it. Malaysia, it was Malaysia, I think. Yeah, I think so too. The Malaysia, the country that like refused to take Canadian trash, right? Yeah, e-waste, especially batteries, man. Like computer stuff. 6 times more plastic waste is burned in the US than is recycled. Fucking burn it. Yes, they burn it. Great for environment. God, it makes sense. Here, yes, they say that the West does not produce plastic garbage. Oh, give me a freaking break. It is Asia. This story explains it. They dump it in the ocean. Yep. They export trash. So before that, China was like the biggest country in the world to import trash, recyclable trash, so they can recycle it themselves. But now they don't take it anymore. They don't. So like the USA is like been facing a trash problem a few years already, for a few years. Aw, thank you so much. Aw, thank you so much. I am very happy to have a chance to talk to you too. DIY wind turbines. Yeah, I mean, good luck with that. I mean, best wishes for you. Hope you can make something out of it. I melted down some cans and made an aluminum hammer and sickle pendant. That's cool. I also make a clone of a towel hanger that hooks over the door. That's cool. Oh, I didn't know this. Recycle old lithium batteries actually turn into a higher quality batteries. Capitalists do not like this because would that affect their lithium like profit? It is true that we already came up with a better battery design that is way better than lithium. Graphene. Yeah, that is a graphene battery. Way better for environment, lasts way longer, and it's not poisonous to the soil when you throw it out. But then, do you know the reason why it's not all over the world yet, even though that is like a breakthrough kind of great kind of technology? It is because capitalists in the world, they already built a bunch of lithium battery factories, and they need to keep making lithium batteries until they can uh, break balance and they can make profit out of it. So they cannot shut down the lithium factory just yet, because they need to make at least 5 or 10 more years so they can make profit out of it. Capitalism is so great. It breeds innovation, and the competition is so great that it's bring the best quality to the customers, but with the lowest price ever. Great. Capitalism, when it's impossible to introduce a new product because the factories that make the old shitty products cannot make a profit yet. So better wait for another freaking 5 or 10 years so they can make enough money out of it. Then hopefully they can change to a new battery that we already came up with a few years ago. Huh. And also about the capitalism breeds like innovation and competition is so good for people. As I said, bring the highest quality of product with the lowest price. Just look at the pharmaceutical companies in the USA. The 5 pharmaceutical companies in the USA shake hands together, work together to keep the medicine price as high as possible so they can all make a profit out of it. So I'm sorry, but for competition, huh? The reason why insulin is so expensive, even though the doctor who came up with insulin only sold his invention for $1 to a pharmaceutical company because he hoped that insulin will be affordable and cheap for people in the future. But now, no, thanks to capitalist competition, all the companies work together and make insulin as high as possible. That is why you have to pay around $600 a month for freaking insulin. The US talks about poor planning, but I remember being without power each time Texas froze over and the power grid failed the last few winters. Hey, yep. I mean, it's also true in Vietnam when Vietnam had, like hurricane. It also like goes out for a few hours, but it got fixed really fast. And I made a video of it when we had a hurricane in Da Nang, and yeah, it's just like I know that happened in Vietnam too because it's not because of the inefficiency or something because the rainstorm knocked off like a power station or something like that, so we lost electricity. We're talking about here that the crisis that we are having right now in Vietnam is because we develop too fast, way faster than the energy system can, cover it. I mean, and also at the same time too that in the capitalist countries, I mean USA, the power failures are due to the government and capitalist failure. When like they cannot have a good distribution system, and like the capitalist company they control the price and control the infrastructure. You have to rely on it, and when they fail, you have to suffer. But in Vietnam, the problem we're dealing with right now, the energy crisis, is because we're growing too fast. Not because of the failure or the problem or something. We're just like growing too fast. They work together and price gouge and then make addicts out of their drugs. They're talking about the pharmaceutical companies in the USA. Hey, you're from Jamaica? That is cool. Hi, Veronica. How's it been going on in your country? I don't know. Actually, I haven't heard much news from Jamaica. Yeah, because the Vietnam news right now is flooded with the energy crisis and the water crisis. So, oh, before I end my stream, I want to talk a little bit about good news in Vietnam because it's like kind of depressing. Stream already. We're talking about the National Assembly in Vietnam is talking about housing for poor people. So we call it like social housing. Here, let me share this. So I will end the stream with like pretty like bright news about housing for poor people in Vietnam. All right, let me share this to you. Yeah, Vietnamese can rather agree like we are developing too fast and our infrastructure cannot catch up with it fast enough. All right, about improving living conditions for resettled people discussed at the National Assembly session. The deputies agree on the need to make comprehensive amendments to the law on housing, thereby fully institutionalizing guidelines and policy of the party and the state on housing. This is a small meeting room of the National Assembly of Vietnam. The National Assembly deputies discussed the amendment of the law. Wait a minute. The amendment of the law on housing at the ongoing 15th National Assembly session on Monday. All right. During the session, they raised a number of issues related to social housing policy for resettlement and property ownership by foreign individuals and organizations. Commenting on naming the housing areas for the poor and low-income people, resettlement areas, social housing areas, Delegate Nguyễn Anh Trí from Hanoi said that there should be policy for the people in this group. It is necessary to ensure, this is important, it is necessary to ensure these people have a house to live in so that they can work with peace of mind. It is even more imperative for resettlement cases as the state takes people's land, so there must be a place for the people to live. The quality of those buildings must meet standard and criteria. Okay, you might misunderstand this. The case that the state takes people's land, it does not mean that the government just take people's land for, like steal people's land. It's not. It means like when, for example, like right now we are building new highway all the way north to south Vietnam, and that new highway, of course, there will be some families' house and farm that is on the way of that highway. So we have to, like take the land back, buy the land back, and then give people a new place to live in. So that's what it means here. So don't think that like I'm gonna just take people's land for profit. Hey Gio, thank you so much for the super sticker. Let's see what it is. What channel is that? So yeah, it means like for government plans such as like building, maybe like highway or roads or industrial zone or something like that. They have to buy the land back from the people and either pay the money back to them or find a new land or house for them, or both. Usually it's both. Usually the gap it's a very like valuable kind of land in beautiful location. The government will give them a new piece of land somewhere, and then if the piece of land is way cheaper than what they took, they'll give more money to the family to equate that money. So some of my mom's farm, the rice farm that we got for free, some of that the government, the part of it, the government took it back and built a highway on it. So I mean, yeah. Hey, it is a hippo. Is that a hippo with a pink cap hat and saying like, that's sweet. I like that. Thank you, Gio, for the super chat, the super sticker. And yeah, it is we usually like complain about the quality of the new house and the government gave us, and this representative said like the quality of those buildings must meet standards and criteria. This house project must meet the standards of safety and quality prescribed by the state. Deputy at the discussion also suggests not to write or hang nameplates on buildings or apartment complexes with names such as housing for the poor, housing for low-income people, and resettlement areas. Yeah, I totally agree with this. They said those names are only used on document and papers to have a land and construction funds. Being named in this way, building also show discrimination and disrespect towards residents living there. They suggest naming the buildings with neutral names such as flowers. True, I agree with this. I mean, this is a very kind of human. What do you think about it? I think it's a very, very human thing, where we like, yeah, we want to build house, have we want poor people, low income people to have a housing, but also we don't want to discriminate them. We don't want them to feel bad, and I think that we want to treat them as normal. So that's why they should just name a neutral name with the flowers or something like that. Do not just name them directly like it is just only the name for project to ask for fun. How intergalactic of them. Oh my god, that's shitty. In Vietnam, is ensure new housing. Yeah, I mean that's yeah. Here we don't define people by their income. No, nope. Back to the article here. Resettlement housing and commercial housing project had completely different quality. He said that it was necessary to clearly stipulate the quality of the housing in the law, avoid people being resettled to areas of lower quality. He said the policy for resettled people was still very weak, so it would be necessary to adjust the quality of resettlement housing areas. According to the law on housing, resettled people are guaranteed to enjoy conditions equal to or better than their old residents. Oh, nice. The deputy said that this concept was a very abstract. Agree. But even though it sounds nice, but it is true. One might think that the size and the location of the resettlement area were appropriate, but for resettled people, it could be problematic to leave a place where they have been living for years. He also noted that the words equal and better were difficult to quantify as and needed to be amended. With regard to property ownership of the foreign entities, some deputies said that it was necessary to have a tighter regulation to ensure foreigners who stay in the country temporarily are entitled for home rental only. Ooh, the formulation of the law on housing aimed to broadly institutionalize the guidelines of the party and the state in housing development for the people, especially low-income people and people with disabilities. Poor people who are unable to afford houses according to the market mechanism. Okay. Also discuss the draft law on water resources and law on credit institution. All right. Okay, here you go. This is what's going on in Vietnam right now. Even though we still having an energy crisis, but it's not the only thing that we talk about. We are talking about housing for poor people, resettlement area too. So, yeah, here we go. Interesting how the U.S. propaganda worries about property rights and communist states steal all property, but in reality is opposite. It is opposite in reality. True. All right. All right. We are actually way over time, and thank you so much for being here with me and listen to me. And I hope that you had fun. I hope that you at least have some basic understanding of what's been going on in Vietnam, and hopefully this energy crisis will end soon because we need electricity. I freaking hope the heat wave will stop soon, man. It's so freaking hot. But okay. Thank you, everybody, and see you next week. Bye.